The Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo is finally out, and with that, there are some really exciting things to experience and notice for different reasons. Starting with how beautifully cinematic the key scenes are, from the very initial presentation inside the track until the final iconic scene of Sephiroth around the flames. What I want to talk about here is the attention to detail this section have when it's about two main topics. First, the world building of this place, based and established in Nojima's novel Traces of Two Pasts, and then the amazing characterization that foreshadows what I consider the most important twist in FF7, which is Cloud's real self. One thing to address about this game is how anxious-inducing it is about changing fundamental stuff from the original game, and yes, that's pretty understandable, so might as well give them full credit here for having the main structure and key points in this flashback done in a very faithful and rich way, filling scenes with both cinematic stuff and gameplay segments, as making a playable Sephiroth is appealing to everyone. In particular, my favorite moment to find, which was a very faithful rendition from the original, is the moment where you can visit this big house. On it, there's a simple family. As you talk to the woman, a couple of kids join and in their curiosity fashion will ask you some question. What's apparently the older sister will ask you some stuff, while the younger brother will try to copy her but not being able to say these complicated adult words properly until they leave. While this house doesn't appear in the demo, and instead it's the town hall, if you go to the shop next to the inn, along the shopkeeper, a couple of kids will talk to you too, and you can hear them say these lines. And how surprisingly accurate that was made me quite happy. But instead of going scene by scene meticulously, which you can follow in another videos, like the one Final Fantasy V made, I want to point out some details you may have missed or simply didn't know, because it's supplementary information that exists elsewhere. By the way, this is my warning about spoilers for the full story, and I will ask you if you can like the video and subscribe for more FF7, thank you very much. First of all, let me talk about my favorite thing about FF7's story, which is the reveal of Cloud's true self and along with it, his role in this particular Nibelheim flashback. As we know, this recollection of the story by present Cloud is not fully accurate. It is surprisingly accurate enough though, which is the reason that it makes Tifa quite confused about the whole situation. How can something be told with much detail and accuracy except one little detail? Cloud wasn't present in that moment. Or I should say, he wasn't feeling that role at least. During the big reveal, we learn, and by we I also include Tifa and Cloud himself, that he wasn't a first-class soldier tagging along Sephiroth in this mission. But instead, he was one of the Shinra military grant, just an average soldier. Which is why he has the memories of this event slightly messed up. There's a mix of what his real self watched, and another bit of Zack's memories after he took his persona before the start of the game. And while the original game already had hints of this with some foreshadows, for example how this grant is patrolling only to stop looking at the water tower and Tifa's house, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so far, is doing an outstanding job at that. We don't have to go too far to start, as it's straight up from the first scene inside the track that this happens, and I let the scenes talk by themselves. This one is a moment I want to highlight because I think it's beautifully done, only with silence and Cloud's melancholic expressions. Of course, heavily implying that his real self is feeling bad because not being able to make it as a first-class soldier, after promising such to Tifa at this same place. After a nice moment where we take a picture that is totally accurate, which is actually one of the key elements to break Cloud's mind in the future, so that part is not a very subtle foreshadow but still nice to mention, we have one aspect that Rebirth expands on, and that is the Mount Nibel Trail, where you're able to have fights and serves also as a tutorial. In one of the small cutscenes, we have a couple of monsters attacking, and when one targets Tifa, is this particular Grant that steps forward to protect her with his own body. Notice how, when she thanks him, he refuses to say any word. Right after this, we even have, again, not Zack doing one of his signature moves to remind us even further this mystery. One of the highlighted moments of this reveal in the original game was how Cloud, as a Grant, blocked the entrance to the reactor to Tifa. So not only this part is included, of course, but also we get to see once again that he refuses to say any word, as talking would be a way to call himself out when he was trying to not show his face out of shame. Tifa even acknowledges this weird behavior if you talk to her. But my favorite foreshadow about this particular topic comes at the end of the demo. As Cloud tries to reach his mother in the middle of the flames, I just want you to notice this voice line and body lying around. Notice how not Cloud ended up in the same position as the Grant lying down? That's a beautiful way to portray how the fake memories match with reality at that point. Side note, these words and moment is the one shown in chapter 2 of the remake. The other topic I want to focus on is that the world building of Nibelheim is heavily influenced by the scenario writer Kazushige Nojima's novel Traces of Two Past. In particular, the first part of Tifa's chapter, where it tells a little bit of her childhood there, before and after Cloud leaves town, until this incident happens, and we can see some nods here. For example, arriving at the town, a mostly new person will welcome the Shinra soldiers and proceed to lead them to the town hall. This is Mayor Sander, a character that debuted precisely in this novel. Known first for gifting Tifa her cat at her 12th birthday, and being mostly active in the town's activities along the years and events. Logically, the town hall is also mentioned in this novel, which, as we mentioned before, replaces a big house next to Tifa's place in the original map. We did mention Tifa's cat. This one is not technically exclusive to the novel, but rather from before Crisis, but it's there when it's revealed that her name is Maru, and while visiting her house during the demo, we can trigger a little conversation. Ignore the English name, I like to pretend it doesn't exist. But what they say is true. Tifa and Cloud shared a couple of moments involving Maru running away to the mountains. And in general, Tifa had to lead with her cat disappearing and going to the mountain road because of it. In fact, it was in one of these searches that Tifa met a very important character for her eventual master or teacher, Rashard Sangan. And while he's been there since the OG, there are some details that the novel goes into that are quite referenced here. Like how Tifa's first impression wasn't the best, as she had to deal with a similar situation as Cloud here. With Sangan trying to feel their muscles and potential as a fighter, to the point that she accused and thought of him as a child trafficker. He's a little bit too intense at the start. The other detail about their meeting is that it happened while Sangan was training inside the Gunthra River, as its rapid flow passed through and around him, which is why Tifa thought he was in trouble. During the demo, we can imagine what type of trouble a mountain rabbit could cause, as we got to see the party fall into the same river and lose one of the soldier grants in the process. Luckily, the less important one. Confirming that this is the same location that the novel established. But back in town, one of the first habits that Sangan established in its citizens is the morning routine of exercises, known as Sangan-style calisthenics, which eventually Tifa and her dad joined to do. And this is precisely what we get to see here in this demo. Tifa mentions them briefly, and in the novel, when Sangan had to leave or continue with his travels, mostly elderly people will ask Tifa to be their teacher instead, as she was suggested by Sangan himself after observing her, and eventually they became master and student. But I found this set of NPCs following Sangan's instructions, that are quite long for a simple conversation in the background, as one of the cutest details added into this, that serves as a nice world building while being very accurate to the existent stories out there. As we get closer in time in the novel to the incident, we are able to read how the monsters start to become more common around, and a type of neighborhood watch is created to protect the place. One of those mentioned monsters is the Chimera Bug, which, name convention aside, would be our first enemy in the demo for the battle tutorials, and I think that was pretty cute. And in terms of world building, there are other events like how many of the women in town decide to help with the cooking for both the watch and the Shinra soldiers that were arriving soon, with some sandwiches and soup. Tifa herself was helping for them, and she could have a conversation with Cloud's mother during it. And this is what we see in the demo, where we munch a sandwich in record time, so we get to experience the taste that reminds you of home. And this is all I could remember to add to my notes. So if you are aware of even more details that started in the novel and were shown here, like some NPC conversations, or maybe some other Easter egg that foreshadows certain events, let me know. Chances are I got too distracted with this demo because, as I said before, it's beautifully done. The dramatic scenes are so captivating, and the fact that we are close to experience a full game of this is nothing but exciting. So in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, enjoy some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I'll see you later. Love you.